Hey there, everybody. It's time for another video. And in this case, we have top 10 cards from Silver Tempest. I know it feels like we just barely had Lost Origin come out, but Silver Tempest pre-releases start this weekend. So, yeah, set's coming out. It's time. Let's look at the cards. Let's look at the top 10 cards, starting, of course, with some of the art highlights from the set. Silver Tempest does have a lot of really good art in it, so let's just look at a couple of them real fast. So we have Regidrago V and Lugia V alternate arts. Now, I could also have included Skuntank or Unknown, and I think those are great too. I wanted to highlight these two because they're especially good. Love the detail on the Lugia with the, I'm assuming the fisherman. Just the colors, the swirls, the patterns. It's gonna look really amazing with the texturing. And then Regidrago also, just the detail with, and then with Lugia and then back on top of it. It's just beautiful. It hurts that we have to put a VSTAR on top of these and cover up this amazing art. They're both just great. For the more regular arts from the set, I just highlight a couple of them. We have this Behem, drawn by Shinji Kanda, the amazing artist that did the alternate art for Giratina V. And then just this random Rapidash. I know it's not technically random. It came one of the pre-release promos. Card's actually really good, or as good as the fire type is in general. But the art's just really cool. It has this way of popping out at you that a lot of the cards don't really have. It's just very bright, very energetic, which I guess is perfect for Rapidash, right? It's perfect. I love the art very much. All right, so we're going to start with the honorable mentions. Honorable mentions this time around is actually really short. In fact, I would even say maybe a couple of the top 10 themselves could maybe have, in a smaller list, just found their way into an honorable mentions without much of a fuss. The set has some good stuff in it, but it's pretty focused on just a few archetypes for the most part. But let's jump into these. The first up is Jinx. The ability Selfish Lips. If this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, opponent's Pokemon V, your opponent can't take any prize cards for it. And then the attack Psi damage, 10 plus damage. This attack does 10 damage, 10 more damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you're thinking, hey, that ability sounds really familiar, why does it sound familiar? Trevenant from Lost Origin had that exact same ability, but Trevenant is a stage 1, and Jinx is not. Jinx is a psychic type Pokemon, which means it can be searched out with Fog Crystal as a basic. It can also be found with Quick Ball, which makes it even better. This is a card that will probably end up fulfilling some sort of similar role to Miltank, although obviously not identical to Miltank. I can see it seeing some play. How much remains to be seen, obviously. Something to be aware of, but not necessarily something that we'll be seeing everywhere. Another card that's something to be aware of is Ariados. So it has an ability called String of Shade. As long as this Pokemon is in play, the attacks of your opponent's Pokemon V-Star cost 1 colorless energy more. You can't apply more than 1 String of Shade ability at a time. So the Pierce, yes, Pierce exists in Tech 2. Ignore that. That's unimportant. The String of Shade is what matters. So I saw some confusion on PoeH forums and on Reddit in general about how this ability works. So this boosts the attack cost of your opponent's Pokemon V-Star by 1, right? Now that doesn't mean their V-Star attack costs more than 1, or rather, it doesn't mean that just their V-Star attack costs more than 1. It means any of their Pokemon that are Pokemon V-Star. So, if they have, let's say they have Palkia, Origin Form Palkia V-Star and Hisuian Zoroark V-Star, and just general binder drop central in their deck, and have all these V-Stars. Any of their attacks will all cost more and more. So you're looking at it literally does not matter. Any attack that those Pokemon have will cost 1 extra energy, which is crazy disruptive. Yes, this ability doesn't stack, but when you're looking at abilities or attacks rather on stuff like Zork VSTAR, and you have these builds that are running just double turbo energy to do the attack, it could force a second double turbo out, which could be very devastating, right? They take that knockout, you're losing. Now you're suddenly down 2 double turbos. This could be that wild tech that shows up and just ruins someone's run at a major tournament. It's that kind of card, right? It won't see play in most decks, and it won't see play most of the time, but when it shows up, oh, people will notice. It will absolutely notice. And Radiant Serena. So this card is one of those could be good in the future cards. I think for the most part, Radiant Gardevoir is just a better card than this one is for now. Because Radiant Gardevoir actively drops the damage you take by 20. But this heals 20 from each of your Pokemon. So this can heal off some spread damage. Or this can act as like a removal of the damage that you would have taken that could have been sponged up with a Gardevoir, right? So even though a Gardevoir would protect you from the 20 damage from a Pokemon V, Serena protects you, not protects you, but allows you to recover from 20 damage from any Pokemon. So if your deck is having a lot of problems with single prizers, or if you just need to heal a little bit extra damage to make things like a 3-shot, Radiant Serena is your gal, right? She's the one you want. I do think this is going to see more play when we move into Scarlet and Violet with the evolving basics and just more. They're probably going to be more spread, I think, in general, with something like almost like a Tapu Koko that we had in Sun and Moon. I think this has been a really good card back then. This is basically a fresh water set every single turn that you have Graceful Healing. Like, yeah, a Path to Peak will shut the ability down, but you can just bump it because it's your turn. It's kind of like, is it Crystal Cave? Same general idea, right? Really, really good effect to have in your back pocket for a stalling deck, or even just a deck that just needs to do a little bit extra to get where it needs to be for its attacks. And it does also have an attack, Fragrance Shot. 90 damage, this Pokemon recovers from all special conditions. It does a little bit of damage, but also makes it so you can't, like, poison it and hope it gets knocked out that way. Although, frankly, at 140, it's going to get knocked out from basically everything anyway. All right. The top 10. The good stuff. Or at least the better stuff. At number 10, Earthen Sealstone. So the Pokemon V this card is attached to can use this VSTAR Power. VSTAR Power is called Star Gravity. Put damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon V until they have 100 HP remaining. This is very reminiscent of Mewtwo VSTAR Power for 3 colorless energy. So Urshifu likes this. I think Rapid Strike Urshifu in particular really likes this. Could probably take some very good advantage of it, right? On one turn you use Star Gravity, next turn Rapid Flow, and just take some devastating knockouts on a couple of VMAXs or a V-Star and a V-Star. It's good. Alternatively, though, you could have probably just taken the 2 knockouts on separate turns. But strategically, it's a possibility that it's an advantage for you, right? The biggest disadvantage is stuff like Cheryl or Sharon's Care or Hyper Potion. Like, there are all these healing options that we have at the moment that could make this less great than you would hope. But in the right situation, in the right deck, this might actually matter. Alolan Vulpix V-Star. Forgive the text. There was a lot of it to translate and put on here. So Snowy Mirage, 160 damage. This attack's damage is not affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So this is an inbuilt shred for 160. During your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon with abilities. So if your opponent has a Pokemon with an ability, which a lot of attacking Pokemon do right now, then suddenly your little Vulpix here isn't going to be taking damage from them, which is it's nice. Especially because you have so few HP, right? You have 240 HP. That's not very hard to knock out. I could see some sort of tech with a metal type Pokemon just knocking this out with a basic Pokemon, just destroying it and making it useless. I do wonder if And there's also Escape Rope that could remove that effect too. I do wonder if there's a use for this card beyond just teching it in when people forget about it. But I feel like it can be played around too easily. At least the main attack can. And then the VSTAR Power is Silver Star, 70 times damage. This attack does 70 damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon V in play. You can't use more than one VSTAR Power in a game. So this does work very well. If your opponent goes very wide and they have a nice bulky Pokemon, you can either gust up or that they have in the active spot. If they have 6 Pokemon in play, that's a lot of damage. Let's see, that's 430, I think, plus Choice Belt. Even just 5 is absolutely devastating. That's a lot of damage. It's a good one-shot on like something like a Kyurem maybe, or on something really bulky like Eternatus if that ever really pops back. But again, there's stuff like Palkia's VSTAR Power, or Arceus's VSTAR Power, or even we'll see Regidrago's VSTAR Power in a little bit. They're probably all just better. Situationally, yeah, this is an option, but I'm not 100% sold on it. That's why it's number 9 and not much lower on the list. All right, number 8. For me, this is where the list really begins. This is where the cards start to get pretty good, right? So Regieleki VMAX ability Transistor. Your basic lightning Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon before applying weakness and resistance. And then for lightning double colorless, Max Thunder Lightning, 220 damage during your opponent's next turn. This Pokemon can't attack. So you're probably not attacking this guy anyway. You're going to be pairing this up with something like Vikavolt V and annoying the crap out of your opponent by locking their item abilities, or locking their ability to use items rather, to just prevent them from using any item in their deck. A lot of decks that'll really slow them down, especially if they're a very turbo heavy build using scoop up nets and switches and escape ropes and all these ball cards for search for their Pokemon. It can really slow a deck down, right? Again, that's Vikavolt V. Now the Regieleki, what it does is makes the damage, the 50 damage that Vikavolt would be doing, more threatening, right? So you could do, because this does stack. So you get 3 of these guys down, that's 90 plus 50, something that's 140, 170 with the Choice Belt. Now that's kind of scary math, right? And if you're hitting into something that's weak, it's even scarier. Something like a Lugia that doesn't play the Dunsparce or didn't put it down or has it prized or whatever. Now suddenly it matters a lot, and this Regieleki will just crush them, right? I think Regieleki is probably not something you're ever going to build around itself, but I think it's absolutely something you will find a partner for, and I think it will just get better as more partners come out for it. The biggest limiter that Regieleki has is that it is limited to basic lightning Pokemon, so it can't even boost its own damage, right? So even like the upcoming Magnezone X that's coming out in Scarlet Violet can't be boosted by this because it's a stage 2. So that is a big limiter for Regieleki VMAX, but I think the item lock that Vikavolt's going to bring with it may help make up for the shortfalling of that boosted damage for most of the Pokemon. All right, number 7. This is actually one of our pre-release promos. Not this art, obviously, but this particular card. So Kirlia has the ability called Refinement. It says you must discard a card from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during a turn, you may draw 2 cards. This is very similar to Trade from Zoroark GX. It's identical to Chinchino's Make Do, to remember. The translation that Limitless had on their website for a long time is still stuck in my head as not Trade, because that's how we tested it. But no, it's the same effect, right? Discard a card from your hand, draw 2 cards. So thin something out you don't want, get rid of your VIP Battle Pass, draw 2 cards with Kirlia. It's excellent. This is a very, very good engine. I think with the Gallade from, I believe it's Astral Radiance, that allows you to search your deck for a supporter card, paired up with this Kirlia, you have a good consistency engine. I could see this being a potential replacement for the Inteleon engine, come the rotation of the Inteleon engine. Now, obviously, the scoop up net component of that engine is also going out too, so Kirlia won't have access to that. But at the same time, I don't know that it really needs scoop up net. That solid draw is very, very good for it. And because Kirlia only has 80 HP, it is searchable via level ball, which is something that Liepard doesn't have. Liepard has the same ability, right? It has trade. It actually has trade. Still the discard draw, right? Discard 1, draw 2. But it has over 100 HP. So it's not searchable via level ball, which makes it less consistent than something like a Kirlia that can be found with that level ball. So level ball can find the Ralts, it can find the Kirlia, and it can get you set up and get you attacking earlier on. This card will absolutely see play. It does have competition in B-Barrel. It does have competition in other engines that are going to be coming out, like the Conf, or that are already out, like the Conf engine. But definitely keep a playset that is handy because you're going to want it, I'm sure. At some point in the next 2 years, while this is in the format, this card is going to matter a lot because it's good. Regidrago VSTAR comes in at number 6. So Regidrago VSTAR has the Apex Dragon attack. It says choose an attack from a Dragon type Pokemon in your discard pile and use it as this attack. So if you're familiar with Mewtwo and Mew GX, this is a very similar sort of Pokemon, except it is an attack and not an ability. And you do not have to have the specific attack cost from the Pokemon that you're using the attack from. So you have to have that Grass Colorless, or Grass Fire rather, to get the attack off. But you can copy whatever attack, no matter what its cost is. So the awkward part of this is that you're having to have that Grass Fire. All right, so you have that Apex Dragon attack. You're copying an attack from the discard pile, no matter what it is, as long as it's on a Dragon Pokemon. So that means you're copying Hisui and Gujar V-Star's attack. You're copying Duraludon VMAX's attack. You're copying Giratina's VSTAR Power. You're copying, whatever it is you need, you're copying it when you need it. That's Dragonite, right? You're copying a whole mix of different attacks, and they're all available to you for that Grass Fire. Now, I will say, we have tested Regidrago VSTAR. We tested it primarily as a Conf engine deck. It's good. I don't know that it's great. It is good, though. And I think it's going to get better as time goes on rather than get worse. But it has some serious competition in the set. With a deck that we'll see, or a Pokemon card that we'll see later on in this top 10. But it is good. But that attack cost it's a bit rough. You can definitely get to it with the Conf engine, right? And then, so you get the Conf engine, you get Mirage Gate online, you attach, manual attach, and you're there. With maybe a Gardenia's engine, you're attaching that way. But then you're having to run a really awful draw supporter in your deck. Because let's face it, Gardenia is not a good card, as much as I wish it were. It's just a little rough. The attack cost is a bit rough. Now, maybe in the future there's a stadium card or whatever that reduces attack cost by 1 grass. Then Regidrago is very, very good. But in the meantime, it's just decent. And probably will get better as more Dragon-type Pokemon come out. That's actually a big advantage that it has over Mewtwo and Mew. Is that Mewtwo and Mew was released very close to the end of the Sun and Moon era, which meant the very end of Pokemon GX. So Mewtwo and Mew really never got anything new to copy because there was nothing new coming out. But Regidrago VSTAR is going to be copying Dragon-type Pokemon. So it'll just keep copying the new dragons that come out as they come out. Now that I've said that, Pokemon will pull a fairy-type Pokemon, or fairy-type thing, and just decide, you know what? Dragons are gone after all. We don't need them. Now, frankly, if they're going to do that, they should have just done that when they did it to Fairy, but I doubt they're going to do it. I think they're going to keep releasing Dragon-type Pokemon. Didn't even talk about Legacy Star. So if you watch the live streams, you've seen our conversations that we've had and our deck profiles at the beginning of each live stream. The tester that primarily tested Regidrago VSTAR even commented when he was doing the deck profile, "Oh, I don't think I'll ever use Legacy Star." And that was he said that right at the very first time we started testing the deck. He's like, "Oh, I don't think I'll ever really use it. I don't think it's very good." And then found himself using it every game, every single game. It's actually very good. It's deceptive how good it is. So you have an option basically to just say, okay, let me screw the top 7 cards in my deck, and I will find a card in those 7 or in the discard pile already that will, or 2 cards because you have up to 2, that will get me what I need. So maybe early on you have to discard a scoop up net, or you have to discard maybe you have to discard a Regidrago V. I don't know, but you have to discard something that you don't want to discard. You use Legacy Star, boom, you have it. Right? Or maybe you need to get a Colress's Experiment. Okay, boom, you have it. It's great. It's very, very strong. It's actually a lot stronger than it looks on paper, as a co-tester learned. But again, it's not quite enough for getting Apex Dragon powered up. But it could still be used to find you the Mirage Gates or a Gardenia and get them out of the discard pile once you use them. But, you know, Regidrago is Regidrago. Good deck, but we'll see how solid it ends up being over time. Alrighty. The next option we have here is V-Guard Energy. Now, this is quite a decent card. Unfortunately, it's going to be only a decent card for a while. It'll be good as long as V Pokemon are very popular. So that's Pokemon V, V-Star, VMAX, V-Union, right? The whole shebang of Pokemon V. It says, as long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides colorless energy. The Pokemon this card is attached to takes 30 less damage from the attacks of your opponent's Pokemon V. You can't apply this effect of V-Guard Energy more than once on a Pokemon. So this is a translation. We don't have the official text just quite yet. We'll obviously be getting it in the next day or so, but still very, very good, right? You're basically shielding yourself from 30 damage from any of your opponent's Pokemon V. So if Palkia V-Star is attacking into you and you have this on you, that's 30 less damage that Palkia is doing. It basically negates their choice belt, makes them regret their life choices. It's good. The biggest problem that V-Guard Energy has is that it's coming out in the last main set of the Sword and Shield block, which means it'll be very, very good during Silver Tempest. It'll be pretty good during Sword and Shield 12.5, whatever that ends up being called. It'll probably be good or decent at least for a couple of sets into Scarlet and Violet, because I don't think Pokemon V are going to go away anytime. They're not attacking Pokemon V. They're not going to vanish overnight, right? Stuff like Mew VMAX is going to be good probably until it rotates. It can flip heads, therefore it will be good. It's like Pikarom. It's never going to die until it rotates. And even then, there's some suspicions. I jest, but still. V-Guard Energy is good. It's actually very, very interesting how the card works when playing with it. We tested Lugia with it. We tested Superior with it at some point. It's a great screwer-upper of math, and that's why I think it deserves a number 5 spot on this list. Because even though it's going to be fairly short-lived in terms of its lifespan compared to some of the other cards, especially the ones that are further down on this list, in the lower numbers, is very, very strong, right? It's a card you want in your arsenal. It's going to be pennies. It's going to be probably 25 cents, 30 cents at most, especially around release. You really need like maybe 2 copies for your deck, 3 if you're really greedy. Blissey is going to love this card, by the way, if you haven't caught on to that already. Obviously, I talked about Lugia liking this, but Blissey will absolutely adore this card because it'll make it even harder for the Pokemon V to deal with Blissey. But yeah, definitely keep 2 of them on hand if you can. Number 4, Archeops. This is yet another one of our pre-release promos. An extremely powerful card, specifically when partnered with Lugia. And we'll talk about Lugia later, but Primal Turbo. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 special energy cards and attach them to one of your Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. And then it also has Speed Wing that does 120 damage. This ability is freaking insane. It is so incredibly stupid how powerful this ability is. It cannot be overstated. This is a double turbo on a single turn. This is 2 from one Archeops. This is 2 powerful colorless energy from your deck straight to your Pokemon, so you can cancel out the double turbo's reduction of damage, further boost your damage. You're you're doing whatever you want. You can search for a V-Guard energy. We just talked about V-Guard energy. Reduce the damage you're taking. Make them really work for the knockout against whatever your Pokemon is. It's insane. And then on top of all of that, Archeops allows decks that it is run in, which in this case is most likely going to be primarily Lugia, but allows those decks to go, okay, you know what? We've got Rainbow Energy, we've got Rapid Strike Energy, we've got Single Strike Energy, we've got Spiral Energy, we've got all these different special energy cards that function as multi-energies, right? They're rainbow in some way, shape, or form. So suddenly Archeops is attaching Single Strike energies for Single Strike Urshifu, or it's attaching a Rapid Strike energy every single turn from the deck to Rapid Strike Urshifu. Bonkers stuff, right? This is, rapidly powering up a Duraludon VMAX. Again, really good stuff. All right, now, I've talked about it. I think it's only fair that we get to it next. Lugia VSTAR. I think this is indisputably the strongest new deck out of Silver Tempest. This deck is insane. I know a lot of people were down on it when they saw the reveal. Pokebeach's comments, you can go back and look at them. People were really down on it, going, this is very underwhelming. The damage kind of sucks, blah, blah, blah. And then we tested. This is why we test, right? We tested it. And actually, though, this is really strong. It's really strong. 280 HP is very hard to deal with when you have a V-Guard energy on you, when you have a Radiant Gardevoir in play, when you're just murdering everything in front of you because Archeops is your best buddy, when you're throwing, 2 Archeops down from the discard pile on turn 2 and just nuking everything. Yeah. So Lugia has an attack Tempest Dive for 4 energy, 220 damage. You can discard a Stadium card in play. The VSTAR Power already said it. Summoning Star. During your turn, you may put up to 2 colorless Pokemon that don't have a rule box from your discard pile onto your bench. You obviously can't use more than 1 VSTAR Power in a game. All right, so that's going to be double Archeops. Every single time it's going to be double Archeops, right? That double Archeops is literally going to be the reason some decks run more than 1 boss. Because people are going to go, oh, hey, I very much need to be able to get rid of those Archeops. You shut down the Archeops, you shut down Lugia. The problem is you're going to have a struggle thus gusting those Archeops, because a lot of decks are going to be switching to another card or shifting to one heavily in place of boss's orders this set. And won't have it. They won't have the gust on it. And even if they do, then it's only 1 price card, and Lugia just comes back and knocks whatever it is out. Right? It's probably not worth it to gust the Archeops most of the time, unless they only have 1, in which case definitely gust it. Shut them down early. But yeah, Lugia, an absolute menace. Definitely expect to see this card flying all over the place during the Silver Tempest format. It will see play. It will see success. It's doing pretty well in Japan right now. So it was like something like 50% of a recent tournament that was played there. It's very strong. Yeah, it's amazing. This is absolutely one of the best cards in the set. I know it's number 3, but it is absolutely one of the best cards in the set. For Sealstone at number 2. This is here primarily because it is so flexible. Beats Lugia only a smidge. It may not see as much play as Lugia because Lugia is going to be such a good deck. But Forest Sealstone is very versatile. It's going to almost see instant slotting into decks like Mew VMAX that don't really have a V-Star option and don't really feel like running any Pokemon V, or that would actually be negatively impacted by running Pokemon V-Star. Is good. So Forest Sealstone says the Pokemon V this card is attached to can use this VSTAR Power. VSTAR Power Star Alchemy. During your turn, you may search your deck for a card and put it into your hand and then shuffle your deck. This is half of Arceus' VSTAR Power, right? This is 1 of any card from your deck whenever. The level of consistency boost this gives, especially to decks like Mew VMAX, that wouldn't otherwise have such a powerful universal search, cannot be overstated. This effect is extremely great. This is your boss when you need it. This is your quick ball. This is your Pumpkaboo. This is your counter stadium. This is everything. And speaking of counter stadiums, you're thinking, oh, I'll just play Path of Peak and they can't play Forest Sealstone. Well, guess what? you would be wrong. Path of the Peak does not shut off Forest Sealstone because Forest Sealstone does not say that the Pokemon it's attached to has this VSTAR power. It can use it, which means that Path of the Peak does not affect it at all. It's going to be a great ruling. Definitely going to see some abuse. That means if Mew has this attached to, a Mew or a Genesect or whatever, they can use Star Alchemy, find that counter stadium, get rid of that Path of the Peak. They can bust that path gone and nuke their deck with their Genesects and just draw like Mew loves to do. It's going to make Mew even nastier in this next format. But it's, again, I keep mentioning Mew because Mew is going to love this card, but there are other decks that will absolutely love this card rather too. Actually, Regieleki is one of them, right? You need a Raihan, boom, there's your Raihan. It's great. Number one, for good reason, Serena. Okay, so you're thinking, this is going to be just like V-Guard Energy. V-Guard Energy is only good for a short period of time, so why is Serena number one? She's number one because she's that freaking good. She's really good. This is hands down the best card in the set, and not by a little bit. Yes, Lugia is extremely strong. Yes, Forest Sealstone is extremely universally great. Serena, though, is consistency for the Regi deck. It is consistency for any deck that plays Gusting. Decks will absolutely play fewer copies of Boss, and they will absolutely play several copies of Serena. Decks will maybe go down to 1 Boss, 2 Boss, and then a bunch of Serena. When we were doing our testing, there were several decks where my initial list, early on in our testing, they were like, 2 Boss and 2 Serena. And then it was like 3 Serena, 1 Boss. And then sometimes I was even tempted to just go straight 4 Serena, 1 Boss, or 4 Serena, 2 Boss. Serena is an extremely good card. Yes. What is her effect? Choose one. Discard up to 3 cards from your hand. You must discard at least 1 card. If you do, draw cards until you have 5 cards in your hand. So this is very similar to Corinna's Focus in that first effect, except that you can thin your hand a bit first and then draw, right? Not drawing quite as much, but you are drawing still a decent number. And when you're thoroughly bricked, when your starting hand would normally be boss, and a bunch of energy, suddenly you have options, right? Because now one of those cards is Serena, and Serena is going to let you clear up that hand and unbrick yourself. Serena is going to help you move forward in the game, whereas boss would just be something you're going to go, well, I hope I get an Ultra Ball. I hope I find some way to shuffle this back in. Serena is going to be that card that will help you clear out that block, right? But we talked about Gusting. Serena is absolutely still a Gusting card. The other option is switch one of your opponent's Pokemon bench to Pokemon V with their active Pokemon. So if they have a benched Pokemon V, which they are probably going to do, especially during Silver Tempest format, that card becomes their active spot. So this, for all intents and purposes, is a boss's orders for 90% of the meta, right? Unless your deck is specifically Regigigas and maybe some fringe decks here and there, Serena is going to serve the same purpose about 90% of the time. But it also offers a way for you to draw more cards, which, let's face it, that's huge. When we tested, Serena was in Superior. Serena is literally every deck. It made the difference between a deck bricking and a deck having a chance, right? For Regieleki, it made it have the ability to get some energies out of the hand or clear up, a little bit of clutter in the hand and just move forward, right? It was that one little difference between bricking, 20% of the time and bricking 10% of the time. And that does matter. Serena's that card. Now, it does pain me to say that just like V-Guard Energy, Serena probably won't be very good for very long. But while she is good, definitely get her. Get your play sets, get them fast. It's an uncommon in English, just like it is in Japanese. I expect it to probably float around $1 or $2. Thankfully, it's not like Irida. It's not going to be a holo rare. I was very afraid of that. It's not a holo rare, it's an uncommon, so we dodged that bullet. But absolutely get Serena. Serena is definitely worth having in your decks. And yeah, that's the top 10 for Silver Tempest. Very much looking forward to 12.5. Definitely do a top 10 for 12.5. Hopefully we have 10 cards in 12.5 that we can actually look at. Still don't know the name of the set. For whatever reason, they haven't revealed it. And then come Scarlet and Violet, rather, we're going to have a field day because that's going to be fantastic. But in the meantime, do be sure to check out my website, justinbasil.com. Go to the What's Next segment and hit up the Silver Tempest links, including highlights from the set, because there's some cool stuff there. That said, everybody, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.